So it's a cold and rainy Saturday, and me being a good dad, I take my kids to the local aquatic center. I'm about to jump in the pool and realize, oh, I've got my Rolex Explorer on. Not a big deal. This thing is water resistant. But then I go to the hot tub. In today's video, gents, 10 tiny things that are going to destroy your expensive watch. The first tiny mistake that's going to damage your expensive watch, adjusting the time backwards. On mechanical watches, especially vintage pieces, this can damage the watch. Now, a lot of modern pieces, they can take the beating, but you want to be careful here, especially with watches that actually have a date function. Go clockwise when you're adjusting the time, as in going forward in time. Do not go backwards. Now, this next tiny mistake that can damage your expensive watch, I'm surprised how many men do not know about this, and that is on a mechanical watch when you're adjusting the date. Make sure that the time is not between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. because at that point, your watch is actually engaging the mechanisms to change the date automatically. And if you go in there and you force this change, you can actually damage the watch. Now, some of you guys are going to say, oh, it's between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. I wouldn't chance it. I would make sure that the time is outside of those range whenever you're going there to mechanically change this date. The next tiny mistake that's going to damage your expensive watch is overwinding. Now, this really applies to mechanical watches that are a bit older, more vintage, or if they're cheaply made. Most mechanical watches, they're going to have a fail-safe. They're going to have it set up so that the main spring is going to disengage at a set point once it's fully wound up so it does not damage the watch. But you want to be careful. If you can actually start to notice, wow, that's getting a lot tighter than what it was, then go ahead and pull back. If you pick a watch up and it hasn't been wound, it's completely dead, know that, okay, about 20 to 30 winds is going to be perfectly fine. Most of the watches I go with are going to be automatic, so they're going to have a self winder in them. And if I get 20 good winds, I'm perfectly good to go. So I'm reading about a submarine the other day. Apparently it went to dive and it did not have the hatches closed. So all this water shot in, they were able to get it back to port, but this had a lot of damage. Guys, the same thing can happen with your specialty watch that is made to go underwater. If it is not sealed, you do not close and seal that crown. You don't make sure those pushers are sealed. All of a sudden, you're going to take that thing under the water and you're going to have damage. Guys, make sure that your watch is set to go under the water. The next tiny mistake that's going to lead to big problems with your expensive watch, gentlemen, is you don't understand what water resistance means. So when I jumped in that hot tub, I did not understand that hot water has a different effect than cool room temperature water on your watch. Why? Because I went from a cold environment to a hot environment, and guess what happens? You have expansion, you have glass, you've got different materials, and things are going to change up slightly. Now, I dodged a bullet. My Rolex Explorer, perfectly fine. And there are watches out there that are made to go underneath the water, and they are made specifically for that. But if it's a 3 ATM, it's a 5 ATM. That means atmospheres. So 3 ATM, about 30 meters, 5 ATMs, about 50 meters. That does not mean that you can take it under the water for a prolonged period. And it definitely doesn't mean that you want to take it from a cold environment to a hot environment and really push the envelope here. These fashion watches, these are not made to stay underwater for a prolonged period, and that can lead to issues. The next tiny mistake that can lead to big issues, gentlemen, you bought a brand new watch with no warranty. Now, it does have a warranty, but not from who you think. So if you don't buy a watch from an authorized dealer, whether it be Casio, whether it be Rolex, understand you're not getting their warranty. And that's why you got such a sweet deal. I've seen some horror stories, especially on Amazon, when they talk about, hey, I bought what I thought was an amazing deal. I had some issues. I sent it back. I thought the company was going to stand behind it, but lo and behold, I actually got this as a gray market, and now I'm having to go through this company's warranty service, which is horrible. So guys, if warranties are really important to you, then you want to make sure you buy from an authorized dealer. The next tiny mistake, you don't have insurance. Now you think you got insurance. I've got home insurance. Doesn't that cover all of my nice expensive watches? Yes and no, up to a certain point. If you've got a watch and let's say it starts to go beyond 1,000, a couple thousand, few things here. Keep the receipts, keep the boxes, take a picture. Better yet, I've actually got a video walkthrough of all of the valuables, and I try to update this every 6 months, and I send this over not only to my my insurance guy, but I ask him to make sure, hey, did you take note of these expensive things here? And you can bet someone's just this is gonna be one of the easiest things to grab, and boom, you're out of that unless you've got insurance and you've got good coverage. The next tiny thing that can damage your expensive watch, gentlemen, magnets. Magnetism, you can actually just destroy your watch. All it takes is 60 Gauss. Guys, in the average refrigerator magnet, we're talking 50 Gauss. So that's really close. These right here, these are pretty strong. I actually use them for collar stays sometimes. And I can tell you guys that magnets are everywhere. Anyone that works around speakers, you know, huge, powerful magnets in speakers. So you take your expensive watch, you put it on your speaker, you leave it there for maybe a few days, few hours. All of a sudden, boom, your watch is magnetized. Be aware, watch out for it. Next up, gentlemen, let's talk about shock. This watch is the G-Shock. It's made specifically to handle shock. So I can throw it, boom, right there. Now, that watch is going to be perfectly fine. Do not do this with your other watches. You're saying, Antonio, why would I do that with my expensive watch? Well, let's think. You're playing golf. You are playing tennis, and your hand is swinging, and that motion right there, that shock can damage your expensive watches. So be careful when you're out playing some of the sports that you're swinging back and forth, and all of a sudden, you're going to get too much shock, and you're going to damage that watch. Now, this next tiny mistake that can lead to big problems, I find a bit controversial because I don't necessarily agree with it, and that is every 3 to 5 years or when the company calls for it, you need to send the watch in to get routine maintenance done. They're going to open up the back, maybe add oil, make sure everything's running good so that it tells the time accurately. For me, I'm a little bit scared. I mean, it's a closed system and the watch has been working perfectly fine. Why would I send off a perfectly fine working watch to get this maintenance and then they could bumble? I mean, you read the horror stories, and I went out there and I looked. Guys, I want to hear from you. I know some of you guys know a lot more about watches than me. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts, what your advice is. Okay, so you're not going to make any of those mistakes, and now you're thinking, what watch should I add to my collection? Guys, go check out the chronograph, one of my favorite styles of watches. And in this video, I talk about the chronometer, I talk about the history of the chronometer, I talk about how the chronograph actually changed history. Go check it out. I'm also going to link to it down in the description. If you want more, guys, I've got a watch ebook, which you could grab for free. I'm going to link to that as well down in the description. And that's it, guys. So I'm just going to make this a habit. And I'm just going to throw watches in every video, right? That's how I'm testing these G-Shocks. Yes, and that's why I've got holes in the walls here at Real Men Real Style. All right, guys, take care. And yes, those are real watches. They are functioning still. Pretty good watches. I like them.